Welcome to the Story Channel. The White-Bearded Fisherman. Samuel was born and raised in a small coastal village, and he had always been fascinated by the sea. As a child, he would often spend hours watching the fishermen as they came and went, hauling their boats in and out of the water, and bringing in their catch. When he was old enough, Samuel joined his father on his fishing boat, and he quickly learned the ways of the sea. He proved to be a natural, with a keen eye for spotting schools of fish and an uncanny ability to predict the weather. As he grew older, Samuel became a fixture in the village, known for his fishing prowess and his generous spirit. He would often give away his catch to the less fortunate, and he never hesitated to help out his fellow fishermen when they were in need. Despite his advancing age, Samuel continued to go out to sea every day, rising before dawn and returning only after the sun had set. His white beard and salt-stained skin were testament to a lifetime spent out on the water, and he wore them with pride. One day, as the sun began to set, Samuel noticed that the sky had taken on an ominous hue, with dark clouds looming on the horizon. The sea, which had been calm and placid all day, suddenly began to swell, and the waves grew larger and more powerful. Samuel knew that he needed to make his way back to shore before the storm hit, but as he turned his boat towards land, he felt a sudden lurch, and the boat began to spin uncontrollably. He realized with a sinking feeling that he had been caught in a powerful whirlpool, and the boat was being dragged further and further out to sea. The whirlpool was so strong that it was almost impossible to control the boat, and Samuel found himself being pulled in ever-decreasing circles, with the waves crashing all around him. He tried to steer the boat away from the center of the whirlpool, but it was no use. The boat was being dragged inexorably towards the center of the vortex, and Samuel knew that he was in grave danger. As the night grew darker, Samuel's boat was tossed about by the storm, and he was completely disoriented. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw something moving in the water. At first, he thought it was just the play of light and shadow, but as it got closer, he realized that it was a massive, writhing black mass, unlike anything he had ever seen before. As the mass got closer, Samuel could see that it was made up of a wriggling tangle of long, sinewy tentacles, each one at least as thick as a man's arm. The tentacles moved with a sickening, serpentine grace, coiling and uncoiling around each other in a grotesque dance. The mass began to surround Samuel's boat, and he realized with a sense of growing horror that he was completely trapped. He tried to steer the boat away, but the tentacles were too strong, pulling the boat closer and closer to the writhing mass. As the boat drew closer, Samuel could see that the tentacles were covered in sharp, jagged hooks, like the barbs of a fisherman's line. He realized with a sense of mounting dread that these hooks were meant for him. As the black mass closed in around Samuel's boat, he felt a sense of overwhelming dread. He knew that he was facing a force of nature beyond his understanding or control. With a mounting sense of panic, Samuel grabbed his fishing net and began to swing it wildly at the writhing tentacles. But it was no use. The tentacles were too strong, and they easily overpowered his feeble attempts to fend them off. As Samuel watched in horror, the black mass began to crawl up the sides of his boat, pulling him under the water. He tried to grab hold of something, anything, to anchor himself to the boat, but the tentacles were too powerful. They wrapped around his legs, his arms, his neck, pulling him down into the depths. As the water closed over his head, Samuel screamed in terror. But his cries were lost in the howling wind and crashing waves. He felt the cold, dark water rushing into his lungs, and he knew that he was drowning. In his final moments, Samuel realized with a sense of profound despair that he had underestimated the power of the sea. He had spent his entire life out on the water, but he had never truly understood the depths of its mysteries and terrors. Now, as he sank deeper and deeper into the abyss, He knew that he would never escape the grasp of the sea, and that his fate was sealed. Days turned into weeks, and the village of Samuel continued to mourn the loss of their beloved fisherman. As the days went on, rumors began to spread throughout the village about strange sightings out at sea. At first, the villagers dismissed the rumors as nothing more than wishful thinking. But then, more and more people came forward, claiming that they had seen a figure out at sea, fishing from a boat that looked eerily similar to Samuel's. Some claimed to have seen the figure in the early morning mist, while others reported seeing him during the day, when the sun was high in the sky. But no matter when or where they saw him, the descriptions were always the same: an old man with a long, white beard, fishing from a boat that looked just like Samuel's. At first, the villagers were skeptical. They knew that Samuel had perished in the storm, and they couldn't believe that he could still be out there, fishing as if nothing had happened. But as the sightings continued to mount, even the most skeptical villagers began to wonder. Some believed that Samuel's ghost had returned to the sea, unable to leave behind the life that he had loved so much. Others believed that the black mass that had claimed his life had somehow transformed him into a creature of the sea, condemned to spend eternity fishing for the souls of the unwary. Regardless of the truth, the sightings continued for years, becoming a local legend in the village of Samuel. To this day, people still claim to see the old fisherman out at sea, his long white beard blowing in the wind as he fishes from his boat, forever trapped between the world of the living and the world of the dead. The fishermen were startled and confused. How could Samuel's boat have been found so far from shore, and why was it empty? They searched the boat for clues, but found nothing out of the ordinary. The boat was in good condition, and there was no sign of a struggle or foul play. As news of the discovery spread through the village, rumors began to swirl once again. If Samuel's boat had been found, then where was the old fisherman himself? Had he fallen overboard and drowned, or had he been claimed by some other force, some dark and malevolent presence lurking in the depths of the sea? The villagers were left with more questions than answers, and the mystery of Samuel's disappearance only deepened. To this day, no one knows for sure what happened to the old fisherman with the long, white beard. But his legend lives on, as a cautionary tale of the dangers of the sea and the mysteries that lie hidden beneath its surface. Over time, the legend of Samuel's ghost became woven into the fabric of the village's culture and history. Even now, long after the old fisherman's disappearance, the villagers still speak in hushed tones of the malevolent force that claimed Samuel's life and left his ghost to roam the sea, searching for fish that he could never catch. As the legend of Samuel's ghostly figure spread beyond the village, the place became infamous as a cursed and haunted location. Fishermen from other villages and towns avoided the area altogether, fearing that they too would fall prey to the malevolent force that had taken Samuel. Even those who did not believe in ghosts were wary of the village and its surrounding waters, as the stories of disappearances and strange occurrences only continued to grow. The village's once thriving fishing industry began to suffer as a result, as fewer and fewer fishermen were willing to risk their lives in the treacherous waters. As for Samuel's laughter, it was said to be the most haunting sound in the world. Some villagers claimed that they had heard it echoing across the water, a mad cackling that chilled them to the bone. Others said that they had heard it in their dreams, beckoning them to the depths of the ocean. Those who dared to venture near the village at night did so at their own peril, as the laughter of Samuel's ghost was often accompanied by strange occurrences: sudden gusts of wind, the sound of waves crashing against rocks that weren't there, and even the sensation of something brushing against their skin in the dark. As the years passed, the village became more and more isolated, a place that few people dared to venture near. And yet, the legend of Samuel's ghostly laughter continued to draw those who were brave enough to seek out the mysteries that lay beneath the surface of the sea. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.